The pharmaceutical giant Merck also expected to report within the hour. And of course, we're watching shares of Amazon after the company reported record quarterly revenue. Amazon also reportedly getting into the pharmacy business. There was a quote. I love being able to attribute stories to individual newspapers. There was a story in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch that Amazon has received approval for wholesale pharmacy licenses in at least 12 states. This, as the drugstore giant CVS is said to be in talks to buy the nation's third largest health insurer, Aetna, for more than $66 billion. Kevin, where do you want to start? Do you want to start with Amazon and then this deal? Because they kind of go one.
I think it's pretty interesting to report on Amazon right now, given the fact that Amazon even still isn't at its 52-week high. So we actually saw it reach $1,082 a share. The interesting aspect about Amazon is the biggest threat to them is regulation. We see that they don't even really pay taxes. When you look at Walmart, they're paying billions of dollars of taxes every single quarter. So the big play here on Amazon is their Amazon Web Services. They continuously dominate in that facet. They're the clear number one. Microsoft is number two really in cloud services, but they don't even compete. What they're trying to compete on is really what's called hybrid cloud. So what that means is companies that have servers on site, they can actually replicate it up in the cloud too, so they can pull from the cloud as well as on site. Now, what's interesting is Amazon did a deal with VMware last October to compete against Microsoft on that. And Amazon Web Services, they continuously cut their costs to be the number one player in that space. So it's so interesting how Amazon conducts business, and then you start to see it play out into the pharmacy side, right? Because they have the delivery mechanisms, right? The logistics. 50% of their sales are third-party distributors on the e-commerce site. So that's pretty telling.
Huge move up in Aetna stock on this report yesterday. And by the way, it is the top story in the Wall Street Journal today. Boom, there you go. $66 billion offer. Multiple meetings between the two CEOs of CVS and Aetna. How could this potentially change not just CVS's business, because CVS has been moving toward more of a healthcare business as their overall retail sales as a percentage of their revenue have been falling, a smaller percentage of their revenue. But this could do, in the journal they point out, this could leverage negotiations with drug makers for CVS. It would get a great deal more health data from owning Aetna, and it would give it ability to strike new deals that tie drug prices to patient outcomes. I just think that the possibilities are limitless when you have a pharmacy like this buying a health insurance company.
And that's the interesting aspect, right? CVS has no experience whatsoever in the insurance business, and then they're coming out the gate and they're buying one of the largest health insurers. And this goes back to drug pricing, right? We've seen a lot of chatter about pharmacy benefit managers and what the rebates are being on drug pricing. You have the drug makers pointing to the pharmacy benefit manufacturers, and you have the insurers pointing back at them. So it's such an interesting dynamic, and this shows you how much it's going to change over the next couple of years, and CVS is trying to get in front of that.
I think that it's fascinating to just think about the possibility with Amazon filing these wholesale pharmacy licenses, that because people in Washington, even President Trump has talked about on the campaign trail driving down the cost of prescription medications. Well, how about letting the private industry do it with the likes of Amazon coming in and becoming a major negotiator with these drug companies?
And I think one of the things that we'll see is how regulators get involved and how lawmakers get involved, as you mentioned, in regulations if Amazon does move in. But I think that will be balanced by the potential for drug prices to come way down if Amazon does get into pharmaceuticals.
Well, Amazon does everything right, but I sort of feel that
until they don't, and that day is coming. We just don't know when that might happen.
But I think Amazon has captured a lot of CVS's market share in terms of their retail product. Right. And now that Amazon is the one that's getting into the pharmaceutical world, is CVS sort of the one that's the cat chasing its tail?
Yeah, I think the interesting aspect about Amazon and what they're trying to do here is that they are the next leg of growth for them in their stock price, and that's what we need to focus on is their ad sales, right? So they just are opening a new headquarters here for ad sales. What they're going to do is server placement on the front page. So if you're a company, they've got what you listen to on Amazon Music, they've got Instant Prime Video. Now they're going to see what you buy at the pharmacy if they're delivering it to you.
People talk about Amazon's getting too big, but if you read into these earnings reports from Microsoft and Google's parent company Alphabet, there is still competition out there for Amazon in myriad ways. Alphabet reported a 40% increase in non-advertising revenue. Yeah. That's strength of its cloud computing business. That was $3.4 billion there. And then Microsoft had a huge surge in two critical components of its cloud computing business, Azure Infrastructure Services and the Office 365 Online. Both of those, the revenue there, respectively up 90% and 42%. So there is competition for some of Amazon's businesses.
Yeah, well, they're broken up differently. With Microsoft,
which you mentioned earlier.
Right. So Microsoft is sort of a utility play, and they actually pay a dividend like that. Think about how Google doesn't even pay a dividend, okay? And they're constantly reinvesting. So what Microsoft did is they switched their business from one-time enterprise sales into subscriptions, right? So for Office 365, you now pay on a yearly basis. It automatically updates. You roll over. You get the latest edition. So they're all trying to transition. And what they do best for all these companies is they have the best leadership. Steve Ballmer came out. Microsoft finally got off to the races in dominating in their actually core competencies. And
one thing I'll point out, because I'm a stats nerd. In 1 hour after the close of trading yesterday, after the earnings came out for Alphabet, Amazon, and Microsoft, $80 billion in market value was added. I said that at the top of the show. $80 billion in 1 hour for three companies. Really incredible. Again, you want to know why the market's moving up, despite D.C. doing nothing on tax reform so far or healthcare reform. It's because of these earnings.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Largest sector in the S&P 500, and they've also benefited from a weak dollar.
Thank you, sir. So much.